Your time spent at Ursuline?
Well, just the guys who came through, and we had, we had a lot of good football players, obviously, but I really feel like there was a brotherhood there, um, and just the bond that those kids formed and the coaches formed and everything. I mean, we had a lot of success. We went from '07 to 2010. We won 53 football games in 4 years, not only do we do that, but I felt like we did it the right way. I felt like our kids bought into doing things the right way, and obviously that's a part of winning that many football games. But that would be one thing. I think the one game that I think stands out even more than the state championship games was in 2007 playing at Akron St. V's, and it's week 10, and we have to win to get in the playoffs. With just a couple minutes to go, we're down by 2 scores, and we find a way to put it into overtime and win the game in overtime. And that season, we went to the state championship game and lost, but that game kind of really got everything rolling. And that was Ryan's senior year, and Ryan was a captain for us. And that game, I think, as much as
Well, he missed out on the state titles, huh, Ryan?
he was a captain on a state runner-up team, but that was our first team that really got it going. And him and Nick McGagan and Ross Ravella and Michael Paul Jenkins and Justin Brown, and I'm going to leave some guys out, but I mean that senior class was really a great senior class, and just a lot of heart and soul type guys. And Ryan was a captain for us, and it was one of the best captains I've ever had, and really did a great job.
Would you credit the talent on your team, or how much credit do you take for not a lot of coaches can say they won 3 state championships over a lifetime. You did it 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
Be honest as you can. And what was it? What
You
happened?
know what? I think our coaching staff did a great job developing players, and I've said this a number of times. I think the development that our kids showed over 4 years once they were in our program, I'd put it up against any program in the state of Ohio. At Division I, Division VII, doesn't matter. And that was something that we had very high standards in the off season, and we worked our kids very hard, and I think we worked as hard and developed our kids as well as anybody in the state of Ohio. And the thing that I always talked about when people would ask, I would say, when you look at a freshman football team and they go, whatever, 5-5, 4-4, whatever, and my thing was, what do they do as seniors? Okay, were they still that 4-4 football team, 5-5 football team, or did they improve? And to me, that was a mark of how the coaches developed them. And the thing that I will say is that a lot of those freshman teams weren't necessarily. I don't know that we had any undefeated freshman teams in all my years at Ursuline, yet we ended up with 2 15-0 teams, another state champion that wasn't undefeated, and a state runner-up. And again, I think it was just a matter of, I think we did a great job of getting kids to buy in, work hard, develop, and, to me, that was the difference.
It's kind of a legendary accomplishment. I mean, I'm not sure that you want to take credit
Well,
for that, but
it's
on your record as the head coach of 3 state championships.
I remember when we went to the first one, and Denny Liebert asked me that week, and
Still going strong.
it's still going strong, and I talked to him a couple times every year, and Denny asked me, do you realize what you've done? And this is leading up to the game, and I told him, I said, Denny, you know what, we're just trying to win this one game, and 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road at reunions, we'll sit back and reminisce. And then the next year he said the same thing. He's like, 2 years in a row, do you realize what you, and it was the same answer. And while you're coaching, I'm several years removed from it now, and
From the Ursuline years.
yeah, from the Ursuline years. And looking back, you kind of realize, like, man, we really had lightning in a bottle there for a few years there, and really did some special things. And to me, it's going to be fun, when these guys go back for their 20-year reunion and they're honored at homecoming game for winning a state championship or runner-up or whatever it was, and having a chance to really sit back and enjoy it at that point.
Well, you're still a relatively young guy.
I don't feel like it.
But a little background. You're
Yep.
from Canfield, right?
Correct.
Originally?
Yep.
Give us a background. You went to Colorado a few years.
Yeah,
Set
so
up your time here at McKinley, and then we'll go from there.
yeah, so Canfield graduate, as you said. Pretty much right out of high school, I got involved. Um, I was involved with Ohio State's program as a student assistant, volunteer, undergraduate, just trying to get my feet wet, trying to learn, and get my foot in the door.
Who was there when you were there, roughly?
Well, that was 91, 2, and 3. John Cooper's the head coach. There were some studs walking around that campus: Eddie George, Joey Galloway, Terry Glenn, Bobby Hoying, Corey Stringer, Dan Wilkinson. I mean, there were some dudes walking around on that football
Stringer
field.
was young then.
Yeah, he was young, and Orlando Pace. I was around when he had his official visit, but then I was not there for his freshman year. But there was a high volume of talented guys, and that's really when things started to flip a little bit for Ohio State and really started to get where they are today. And the one thing John Cooper did a great job of, I mean, he could recruit, and there was no lack of talent on those teams. But so I was there for 3 years, and then came back home, finished up at Youngstown State, was a student assistant for 1 year and a GA for 2.
Jim Tressel.
Yep, and so that was 94, 5, and 6.
Do you have Tressel in you at all?
Yeah, I think so. I think I think particularly if you look early in my career, probably a lot of similarities, X's and O's. I mean, I was a lot more conservative early on, and definitely a
Not
little
as much
different.
now.
Yeah, I evolved a little bit
Does that
there,
come with
but
confidence?
yeah, I think so. I think it does. And I think just from a defensive perspective, when some of those other things start happening to you and you lose sleep and you're spending all this time trying to game plan against things that were difficult. And we played Mentor a couple times early on when I was at Ursuline, and they were one of the first no huddle teams, and man, it was so radical at that time. And then I remember well, why don't we do a little package like that, and why don't we do some of these formations, and just to, as much as anything, it was just to give the opposition a headache, and just all the things that I didn't like to defend. Let's start doing some of those things, and just kind of evolve from there. But getting back to it, so I was on YSU staff for 3 years. 97, I went with John Haycock to Indiana as a graduate assistant. And then 98, I came back to Warren Harding as an assistant and was there for 6 years before I became head coach at Ursuline. My wife's job took us out of state for a couple years, for 3 years. I was in Colorado. And
How was that? Just in a nutshell.
It's a great place to live. It's a great place to live. I mean, there's mountains and rivers and streams and
You
lakes.
go skiing
and
one day and
you go
fishing the next.
skiing, fishing, hiking, biking, kayaking, whatever you want. It's not a great place to be a football coach. So it's just, things are. It's not as important to the community, to the entire high school. You know what I mean? I mean, and it's not to say it's not important to kids or coaches, but it's not as big of a deal to the community. You go to any random town in the state of Ohio on a Friday night, and there's going to be 5,000 people in the stadium, and people affiliated with the school, people not affiliated with the school may or may not be there, and it's just it's more of an event. In Colorado, there might be 200 people at a varsity football game, and you think that that's a pretty good crowd at times. So it's just different.
You're
So-
dying to get back here.
I was, and this is home, and it's good to be back. And again, I mean, football is important to me, and it's good to be where it's important.
How, I don't want to use the word fortunate, but how fortunate are you to land in Camp McKinley?
Very fortunate. Pinch myself almost every day. I mean, it's a place that, it's a pinnacle type job. I mean, it's something where if you ask, pretty much any high school coach in the state of Ohio, man, if you could go be the head coach of McKinley for 1 year, would you do it? I don't know too many guys who would turn it down. I feel blessed to be where I am.
It's the birthplace of football.
Right.
Did you have that vibe at all? Is there?
Yeah, I
the
mean,
Hall of Fame?
well,
I
it's.
guess that's what
you know,
we're
I'll tell you-
segueing to.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Hall of Fame week, we're in the middle of August camp, and the Hall of Fame, they were hosting a youth camp after our practice ended, and some of our seniors were helping with the youth camp, and there were 36 Hall of Famers assisting with the youth camp, and all of our kids were partnered up with a Hall of Famer to run drills. And then I look over, and John Gruden's walking around, and one of my quarterbacks there, I said, Coach, can you go talk to my quarterback? He comes, he's like, Canton McKinley High School. Does it get any
He's
better
an Ohio
than this?
guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is John Gruden telling me, like, man, I would love to be the head coach at Canton McKinley High School. And he's like, where's that big son of a gun, your quarterback? He goes over, man, you probably run this guy so often. I'm like, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And so then John Gruden takes my quarterback, starts coaching him up. And, there's not too many places that happens. So, hey, in fact, there's no other place that happens. It happens at one place. And, so just stuff like that. I mean, on any given day, last year we're practicing one day. Lynn Swan walks on the practice field and starts talking to our team. And he was in town for an event. Before I got there, a handful of the coaches, a lot of our coaches are affiliated with McKinley, either played or coached there previously. And they, Michael Irvin popped by a couple years before I got there, Hall of Fame weekend. He's in town, just shows up at practice, starts talking to the guys. So you never know who's going to drop by, and you just pinch yourself.
I know you're not full of yourself at all, but do you feel important when these kind of things happen?
I sit there and I kind of pinch myself, like, you just never know who's going to come by. I mean, it's a heck of a deal.
What's the best thing about being head coach at Canton McKinley? That?
You know what? I think just overall, it's just a place where football is important, and trust me, because it's important, I know what they expect from me as the head coach, and it's a place where there's typically not a long shelf life for head coaches because they are impatient and all those things. But I've always, and Urson was like that to a point as well, but I've always said I'd rather coach at a place where they're willing to fire you than if they don't care if you win or not. And if you're at a place where you have resources and they have high expectations and they give you what you need to be successful, I'd much rather be at a place like that. And I'm confident enough in my ability to coach that, we'll find a way to win if we have the resources. So
before I ask you about the Hall of Fame stuff, are you content at Canton McKinley? Can you be the coach there for 20 years? Is this your last stop? I don't know.
I don't have too many more moves left in me. You know what? I will coach here as long as they'll have me. Let's put it that way. So it's a good place to be. It's a unique situation from all the things that we've been talking about with the Hall of Fame and everything. And I feel like we've done a lot of good things in a year and a half as far as getting the program where we want it to be. Right now, our JV team is 6-1. Our freshman team is 6-1. Our 8th grade team just won the Federal League Championship today. The future is bright from that standpoint, and I feel like we're laying a strong foundation.
But you've had that college taste. It's palpable to you.
That's something
that's
something that I would consider.
Especially if you rip off a couple state titles.
I would definitely
just ask.
I would definitely consider it. As an assistant, it would have to be for the right guy, and having some college experience previously, there was a time where I worked for the right guy, and there was a time that I didn't work for the right guy, and it makes all the difference in the world. So it would have to be for the right guy, and I think that would probably be. I've had the question, would you consider being a head college coach? And I think I'd rather go and be an assistant, to be honest with you.
Offensive coordinator.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and what the thing about being a head coach, I joke around with my staff. There are some guys who have head coach aspirations on my staff, and it's not necessarily what you think it is when you're an assistant. And there are plenty of days where I would love to go back and just be a wide receiver coach or a defensive back coach. And the thing that I miss from being a position coach is you don't have when you're the head coach, you have a huge group of guys that you're trying to keep tabs on all of them. And the thing that you're not able to do is develop a tight-knit relationship with all of them. There's too many guys. When you're a position coach, at Harding, a couple of years, I'm the receiver coach. I mean, we had our guys, our 10 guys or whatever it was. And
did you have Manningham?
I did. And Tremaine Warfield and Antoine Molden, Manningham, and some of those guys. I mean, we had some great players, but we also had a really tight knit group, and that's the thing that you miss as being a head coach. You know, developing just a specific position group and you know, doing all the things, you know, just taking pride in your position group. I mean, I used to challenge our guys to, you know, whatever it was. I mean, today we're blocking better than the offensive line, and just get things like that in their head. And so I miss that stuff when you're a head coach. You know, when you're a head coach, you're dealing with a lot of headaches. That fills up a lot of your time, and you're a little more removed from all the individual kids.
I want to ask you more about Camp McKinley before
Yep.
we're done here. But tell us about the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
The field, Fawcett Stadium is no longer on the map.
It's
What's going on there, Dan? Give us an.
If you've had a chance to drive down I-77,
Which I have.
Over the past few weeks, the home stands are completely knocked out
Yep.
now. The visitor stands have been
Is the
rebuilt.
press box still up there?
No, it's gone.
That's gone.
It's gone.
And that was
So
relatively new. Right?
It was
the additions.
10 years old, roughly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and beautiful. I mean, the fact that they tore that press box down, I mean, it was beautiful.
But it was
And,
on the wrong angle too, right? They had to
correct.
tear it down.
Correct. And all the things that they wanted to do with this new project, it was going to be more money to try to upgrade the press box rather than just tear it down and start over. So,
Why not?
yeah, exactly. So, for the 2017 season, we are opening with Warren Harding, which is going to be great because
Friday.
it's going to be a Saturday night game, primetime game.
Thanks.
Sorry, you'll be covering a Buckeye game, right? But it's going to be a Saturday night game against Warren Harding. It's been a handful of years since McKinley and Harding have played.
Do you have anything to do with that, or is this
Yeah,
coincidence?
yeah, no.
Okay.
No, Steve Arnold and I coached together at Harding for several years, and he's a good friend of mine. And you know, we talked about it, and it worked out. We both had an open date.
That's
so,
awesome.
So I mean, my goal is, you know, I think McKinley and Harding should play every year, and so we signed a 2-year deal, and hopefully we'll keep renewing it. And you know, they're similar towns. They're similar demographics. You know, steel towns.
You're D1 though. You're D2.
They are now. Yep. But yeah, I don't feel sorry for Steve Arnold. Trust me, he has plenty of players. I've seen
You've
seen
heard
him
Lynn
on
Bowden
film.
before,
Yeah.
haven't you?
So,
Oh, yeah, you have.
That's right. But so at any rate, they will open the stadium in 2017. The home stands, the visitor stands will be done, and the west stands will be done. The only thing that won't be complete for 2017 is the east side where our former locker room was.
By the freeway, yes.
Correct, and that'll be complete for 2018.
You're not playing home games at all this year.
Not this year. We're at Kent Central Catholic.
Yes, where I
And,
saw you play
yep.
Hovind.
And so with the new stadium, there's going to be 2 huge jumbo video boards. I mean, huge.
And you guys have access to everything.
Yeah, when we play home game, we have access to all that stuff, and it's going to be a unique situation. It's every seat in the stadium is going to be a chair back folding seat. You know, it's not going to be your average high school stadium. It's going to be an NFL caliber stadium, just shrunken down to 25,000 seats.
The excitement has to be incredible.
It
right?
is, and you know, I feel bad for our seniors this year because, you know, obviously someone has to miss out on it. They're the ones that miss out on it, but you know, we're trying to do some special things for them to keep them included, and when all this new stuff is up and running for us.
What else is happening? What's this whole package all
So
about? How much
the-
dollar value?
yeah,
We've heard numbers.
Yeah, $500 million, $500 million. They're saying that the whole project there's eventually going to be 9 turf fields to bring tournaments, soccer, flag football, Pop Warner, you name it, to bring it to Canton, Ohio. They're creating a retail district and restaurant and nightclub district,
Wow.
you know, similar to downtown Disney. There's going to be a 5-star hotel put in. They're building an indoor facility. They're completely expanding the Hall of Fame. I mean, turning it more